Welcome back, everybody. This is the second phase of brewing the Northern Lights Canadian beer. We've had our beer in the primary fermenter for, it's been now a little over 7 days, which is a bit too long. Any good kit will recommend that 5 days would be the maximum to leave your beer, but I usually push it a little longer and haven't had any problem with that. Things come up and you don't get around to it. I wouldn't get too much, lose any sleep over the fact that you've left it in the bucket for a while. You just want to make sure that it's done. As long as it's done, you're good. If this isn't your fermentation lock, as long as there are no more bubbles coming, or the bubbles are at least maybe 60 seconds apart, you're good to go. We can tell with mine here, with that long, there's no activity any longer and the yeast has done everything it can in here. So what we're going to do this time is transfer the beer from the primary fermenter into your secondary fermenter. So what you'll need for that is just a 23-liter carboy, glass carboy, and some other supplies here that we can look at. Just a tube should be good for siphoning, and your racking cane. And with your racking cane you'll have this, which stills in the bottom, and that keeps some of the sediment from getting in, at least lets you know when you're at the bottom so you don't suck up sediment. And a clip is often helpful to clip to the side of the bucket to free up one hand. The glass of water is a good way to get the prime and get the beer into the tube so you don't have to try to suck on it. Sometimes you'll get an air bubble. So what you can do is suck the water into the straw. You can swallow a bit and not waste any beer, and then set your racking cane into the beer and it'll just pull the water up in the beer with it. So I'll start that process and you can watch. Okay, so we're getting close to the bottom. We'll look inside. At this point it's good to, you don't want to suck up any sediment, it's good to tip up your bucket. You can see the nice sludge on the bottom, and that's the sediment that we want to avoid by doing a secondary fermentation. A major part of that is that you get one chance to pull all the beer off of that and put it in your next container, and that'll keep it clear. Here you just want to watch the level of the cane. Keep it above the sludge and slowly work it down as we get the last into the secondary. Now that looks pretty bad, but it's a good sign to see it like that. See, it's green from the hops. Just want to keep working that down. So you want to leave your beer in the secondary fermenter for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. It can sit in there for as long as you like. There'll be no harm, there's no real rush to get it out, but you want to at least wait that few weeks and just watch it. When it starts to clear up a bit, you'll know that whatever sediment and product was left in it would settle to the bottom. And then you're into the stage of bottling whenever you're ready to do that, which can be quite a process, so wait till you have some time and pick the best day to do it. The sediment here where it sat long is pretty hard, so it's good to keep that off. Put the rest down into your secondary. The most important thing in this process is to make sure throughout that you don't ever lose your prime. You just want to keep that cane underneath. If you lose your prime, the beer will stop flowing and then you'll have to just re-siphon it and start again from there. So all we basically need to do now is take this, put another fermentation lock on it, and put it in a stable environment. So this is what's left over at the bottom. You can see why we'd want to siphon that off without trying to bottle that. I don't think this is something anybody would want to drink. So you take your fermentation lock just like you did before, fill it up with a bit of water, just to about there. Here you won't see a whole lot of activity. I don't usually see any kind of bubbling. Get that on nice and tight to make sure this is secure. Now it'd be best to keep this stored in a dark place. I usually wrap it in a blanket, and what the blanket will do is keep the heat in. If there's any fermentation continuing in here, it'll produce heat and it'll keep that heat inside. The blanket will also keep light out. You don't want any light to get at it. And you want to try to find a warm room with a stable temperature. If you can't get it warm, then it is what it is, and anything it might do would just take a little bit longer, so give it a good 2 weeks if it's a cooler temperature. Other than that, we'll be back for phase 3, which will be priming and bottling. See you then. Hello everybody, welcome back to the final stage of brewing this Northern Lights Canadian beer. We've had the beer in the secondary fermenter for a little over 2 weeks now, maybe 2.5 weeks. So it's time to bottle. I'll show you some of the things we'll need to bottle. Put your secondary up on a table and let it sit there for a little while so that the sediment can come to the bottom. You don't want it too stirred up for this part of the process. You'll need your 23 liter pail, and what's going to happen there is we'll do bulk priming, so we siphon the whole batch into the pail and stir in our priming sugar and then bottle from there. You'll need your large spoon for that, regular siphoning gear, the racking cane, the hose, and then we have this special tool for bottling, which you can set to the bottom of the bottle and it fills it up. You'll need your priming sugar, capper, if you plan to do caps on your bottles, and the caps themselves, and then you also have to get your bottles ready. Here I have 66 regular size beer bottles, that's a batch. It's 48 if you have a ½ liter bottle or a pint bottle. And if you want to do a mixture of them, just work out the amounts that each bottle will hold and basically divide it down into what will be anywhere from 21 to 23 liters. Hard to say exactly what you'll end up with, but it's good to have more so that as you're going, you can get all the beer in the bottle. So the first stage that we want to do here is clean all of these bottles. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll give you a little look at what that looks like as we do it. So the basic process here is to get your bottles here, have your sanitizer solution in something hopefully that the bottle will fit in, makes it a little bit easier. You just, if your bottle's already clean, which after you drink one usually you should give it a good rinse to make sure it's nice and clean. Fill it up, give it a shake. If you think they might need a little more, give it 2. It's usually good to give it 2 shakes. So that's your sanitizer. And then I make a pile and I'll do a certain amount with the sanitizer. And then in the sink you can have some fresh water. Run some water. Make sure each bottle gets 2 good rinses with fresh water. And then just set them to dry. Keep going that way. From here you can dry them off and put them back in your box. And then once you're all done, you'll be ready to start the next step. So the next step is to get your priming sugar ready. This kit came with a pre-measured bag. Usually it's about a cup or so. So just get a dish and your sugar and put that right in there. This pre-measured bag was pretty full, so give you a lot of room to get it opened up. So basically we're just going to dissolve this into a little bit of water and then pour it into our bucket as we siphon out of the secondary. And it'll dissolve as the beer flows in and pours in, so don't worry about dissolving it now. This just gives it a chance to get started. Just get some nice fresh water. Give a little stir. It's basically a corn sugar, so it dissolves really well anyway. Then the next step will be transfer from your secondary back into the bucket. So you've had it sitting here for a little while. It's had a chance to calm down. Again, you can use the trick that we talked about last time where you put some water into your hose and let the beer flow up from there. We'll just do it this way. I want to get a taste to see what the beer's like at this point. Don't put your racking cane all the way down to the bottom, because remember there's sediment at the bottom and we want to get all that out of the way. So you get a good taste of your beer there. It tastes pretty good. And then you take your priming sugar. Sometimes you end up with your hands full. I forgot my little clip, so it's good to have someone that can give you a hand. Here's your priming sugar, and that's mixed in. You can see it's not fully mixed. I think there might be some hair in there, but that's okay. Pour that in, the beer will help get it going. And you can rinse it out with your little hose here. So then we just let that fill up. Every now and then you can give it a little stir. Want to make sure you get that priming sugar stirred in there. Now the priming sugar is what will carbonate your beer. Like I said, I got a taste of it now. It tastes pretty good, but it was completely flat. No carbonation at all. The old way of priming, or another way you can prime, is to put measured amounts of sugar into each bottle and then pour into them. I find this is a lot easier, plus it gives you a chance to siphon off the secondary and lose one more layer of sediment. So there won't be any sediment at all here, so when you bottle your beer you don't have to worry about letting your racking cane sit right at the bottom, or just use a straight hose. There's no need to try to filter it or save any sediment at that point, so we just let this fill up and then we move on to the next step. So we've racked it all into the pail here with our priming sugar. Give it a stir, and then we're going to siphon this down into the bottles. So you want to get it up high. Give it a good stir, and then we'll set up for the bottle. So we got everything ready. Put all our bottles out here in front of us. Attach the clip to make it a little easier. So you just have to make sure it's upright. You can stir it from time to time, leave your spoon in there. You don't have to worry about sediment. That's the best thing about that. So then with this, see the little nub here? There's a spring inside. And when this presses down, the beer will flow out. So you can just see, pour out like that. And you just want to start filling your bottles. You want to fill them with about maybe an inch from the top. Sometimes it can be tough to get the siphon with the special bottle tool on. Well, it takes up space, so when you take it in you can kind of see how much room you need there. Clear bottles are nice, at least a few of them in your brew, so you can see what it looks like. Keep an eye on it that way. I always like to have at least 6 of them, so I can get a good look and watch how it clears over time and see how a different color bottle might affect the beer. And then you just keep filling. Okay, so once you've got all your bottles filled up, you can set up with your capper if this is the style you're going to use. Have your caps ready, just a crown cap, and they're open now. So you can just take each bottle, and this has a height adjustment so you can set which height for different bottles. Just set your cap on top, put it underneath there, line it up, and it's capped. Give it 2 twists just to shake everything up inside, see, it looks pretty good. Back in your case. Once you have them capped up, you store your beer. You want to leave your beer in the bottle, upright, in a warm, dark place for at least a week. I like to do a taste test after 1 week to see how it's doing. Usually it's not quite ready to drink by then. After 2 weeks, you should be good to go. I've aged some beer in bottles for up to 6 months, and they really do get better. The head becomes a lot finer, the bubbles are smaller, the flavor really comes out. I like to say after a month I'm ready to start drinking them. And after that first week you can take them out of the warmth and you can chill them for drinking. So there you have it. That'll be a batch of the Northern Lights Canadian beer. Thanks for watching. Hope you had fun and happy brewing.